have a very good copy, Bob, except at the very top I have a little bit of interference. Well, this is obviously the controller for the H.G. Wells time machine, but I'm wondering what other people might think. Neil?
Well, I had a little bit of a problem here because I had to disconnect my receiving connection from the computer. It was trying to trigger the transmitter every so often, so I disconnected. However, YouTube is operational, and I see a good copy there. It would be unfair for me to comment on the quality because I didn't receive it myself, but it looks like an old receiver. I don't know the brand, but being as old as I am, I think there are some vacuum tubes behind there. So back to me.
Thanks, KL7HQR. NR6H, Anders.
Good reception, with the exception for the heterodynes at the top there, which apparently Neil was the culprit for that. But other than that, a very good reception. Very few pops and disturbances in the overall picture, and pretty good resolution. Not enough, though, for me to actually read any of the print on the front of this machine. I do see a little thing I do recognize, a little 3.5 millimeter stereo jack in the lower left corner of the picture there, but and it seems that it sits on something that looks like barbecue grates. So maybe this is the final picture of that thing before it got fried. I don't know. NR6H, back to net.
Thanks, Anders. And as an aside, I had to reset the settings on the 991, and I went back and found those emails from earlier this year or last year, and I used them to fix the menus so I could do SSTV tonight. So I wanted to thank you. I was thinking about you today. Joseph, KK6, LOL.
I have a great copy with the exception of the lines on the top. I don't think those are barbecue grates. It looks like the back of a pickup truck, so I think it's about to be shipped somewhere or stolen from something. However, it looks like an old, what do you call them, shortwave radio or shortwave receiver.
KK6 LOL. Very good, thank you. And Anders, thanks for the explanation about the interference at the top. Bob, N6PGQ, what is this and what is it sitting on? Is it a Weber barbecue or is it the hinge of a pickup tailgate?
Well, somebody got it close. Yeah, it's on the edge of the tailgate of my pickup. It has a bed liner in it that's corrugated, and that's what you see down in the lower fifth of the picture. This is an example of what you may find at the White Elephant sale, because that's where it's headed. Let me drop this for a second. It is obviously a tube-operated electro-voice communications receiver, and it will be on a table in October at the River City Arcs meeting, and if nobody wants it for whatever price the bid is, it's going to the e-waste, because I have to clean out my shack and the shed and everything else because I can't fit myself into there with all the junk that's there. N6PGQ.
Thanks. Working, like, could it be a project for Anders?
Everything else because I can't fit myself. It could be a project for anybody. It's sitting there waiting for someone to enjoy working with it. If worse comes to worse, it's got some really nice knobs on it and a nice vernier type dial. Waiting for someone to enjoy working with it. If worse comes to worse, it's got some really nice knobs on it and a nice vernier type dial.
I think we're getting some interference from the YouTube channel, but I I copied that, Bob, and I was going to ask you where and when is the White Elephant sale? I heard on the 10-meter net some description, but I couldn't pick up on the detail. Do you have the detail?
Well, traditionally it's in October, so it'll be the first Tuesday of October. And the N6NA.org webpage, and the calendar is there. It's probably the first Tuesday of October if tradition serves.
Copy that. All right, thanks, Bob. Any more comments for N6PGQ before we move to Neil? KL7HQR, are you ready to share a photo?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I had to reboot my computer here, restart it, and I noticed that as long as I'm not monitoring YouTube, I'm okay. If I start monitoring YouTube, then I start clicking the transmit button. So something is not right here. Let me test my tone one more time. So apparently I don't have a tone. Let's go on to Anders, and I'll pick up after him.
Okay, yeah, you did have a tone earlier before we started, so we'll circle back to you, Neil. Anders, NR6H, are you ready?
Well, you never know, but I will give it a shot. This is going to be PD 120.
This came through really well. I like the gray color. Little white pops here and there, but nothing terrible. It almost looks like the inside of a Mercury space capsule, but I'm sure it's not. I look forward to hearing what this is, a set of fuses and something that controls electrical power. Joseph, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts about this?
So I've got a fantastic copy as well. This screams military aviation grade control panel, probably for a radio operator.
It very well could be. I do like the sign disregard erratic action during HF something something. Bob, can you see that N6PGQ?
Yeah, that's about what I can read. I don't know. I'm always something wrong, but it almost looks like an intertie to make sure that you have the phase angles of perhaps different generators or things like that hooked together. This may be on a ship. We had some ship pictures last time, so that's my guess. Quality is really good, very few pixel pops, and you can look at all the little meters and read the numbers on them. You can barely read the writing to the left of NR6H. N6PGQ.
N6PGQ. This is James for ID, KN6QNJ, Neil KL7HQR. Comments?
Roger, I still having problems with my receiving here. I got a very grainy picture, not bad, not good at all. It looks like my input's coming through the microphone and not to the line, so I'm going to have to disconnect everything. But I noticed the picture on YouTube seems to be pretty good. So keep me off for now until I pipe back in. Otherwise, I will just be monitoring. Back to net.
Okay, copy that. KL7HQR. NR6H. Anders.
Yeah, thank you for that. You were all pretty close on the guess there. This is kind of a ship, but an airship. It is from the cockpit of a 747, Boeing 747. So that's an airship, I guess. This is from a little adventure me and my son did a couple of weeks ago. We went down to the Hiller Aircraft Museum in San Carlos, I think it is, on the other side of the San Mateo Bridge there, and they have a chopped off 747 there, and you can walk up into the cockpit and you can play around there with all the knobs and buttons if you want to. This particular one I found very funny, and you almost caught the sign there up in just under the big AC power switch there. So the detailed picture here is from the navigation console, the big console to the kind of behind the cockpit where I guess the navigation guys sit. And is this just a top left corner picture? There were several of these little signs where they said, disregard erratic action during HFXMSN, and I assume that means transmission. And then in parentheses, the reference to the dials underneath it. And I just thought that was hilarious, because basically whoever designed this, kind of gave up on trying to make the system HF immune, and that was transmitting on HF. I guess all the instruments went haywire, and that's fine. They just put up a little sign saying that it's okay, it should be wrong. So I just thought that was hilarious, and I wanted to share it. That is what this is. NR6H, back to net.
That's really something. So that means they did not bother with filtering. Like, how would you control that if you wanted to try to control that?
Well, I mean, controlling HF is done the same way for us hams as it would be for a thing like this. You would have to keep things separated. You would have to make sure that you didn't get high SWR on your antenna, so that any energy came back in. You wanted to get all of it pushed out. So that would be step number one. You would obviously put chokes and things like that to avoid any energy coming back at you. And then if all that fails and isn't enough, then you just have to make sure that your instrumentation is rugged enough to actually be able to handle it. And there are many ways of achieving that, but you basically have to pull out your engineer's handbook and start working through the different ways of achieving it. So I just thought it was interesting that something as significant as a 747 actually has this little design glitch in there. So anyway, that's what I had to share. NR6H, back to net.
NR6H, thanks. Joseph, KK6. transmit a photo.
KL7HQ.
Oh, go ahead, Neil.
Just testing your tone just for a second.
Go ahead. Yeah, you got tone.
Okay, let Joseph go, and then I'll try it after him.
Copy that. Joseph, are you ready to go?
Yeah, let me go ahead and test tone.
A good tone. Joseph, we copy tone, so go ahead. All right, well, Joseph, it came through, Kilo Kilo 6, Lima, Oscar Lima, and for ID, this is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec, November Juliet. We had a little bit of interruption a couple times. I don't know if that was, Neil, if that was your system or something else causing that, but I can see the computer and the, I guess, Yagi antenna on a tripod. So we look forward to hearing more about that. Bob, N6PGQ, your turn to comment.
Okay, well, I see about the same thing. Picture looks like it's in someone's backyard, apparently. Shrubbery on the right, and some nice manicured shrubs, and maybe a palm or some kind of a tree in the background. And you have a antenna on a tripod with a computer below it, probably fairly high frequency. The elements are not very long, and there's lots of them, so it's pretty good gain. I don't know if somebody's using this for EME or satellite work or something like that, but there it is, and we'll be happy to listen. N6PGQ.
Thank you, Bob. Neil, KL7HQR, are you able to see that?
Yes, first KL7HQ. First of all, no, it was not my system. I did have a granular reception in the beginning, and it firmed up. It looks like the reception stopped a couple of times, but again, I see the ground, and it looks like a laptop and the antenna on the bottom. But the details are not available to me. So I will be ready to try sending something after when we're done here. Back to Net.
Thanks, Neil. Anders, comments?
Decent reception for sure. Like Neil, I do think that there were two or three little gaps in the transmission. It sounded more like gaps than actual interference. It sounded like the repeater dropped there for a second. I see a tripod. I see a computer. It looks like the screen is kind of funny shaped. Maybe there's some kind of sunscreen or something on it that is not sunscreen, but screen for the sun that makes it look more square than a normal screen would. But yeah, not sure what that is. It looks like whoever takes care of that lawn is also taking care of mine. It's about the same shape as my backyard. And yeah, tripod with Yagi on it. Something pointing at 30 degrees up there, something like that, looking for maybe satellites. So interested to hear what that is. NR6H, back to net.
Thanks, NR6H. Joseph, KK6LOL. Tell us about this.
This is a picture I took from the rig I'm actually using to transmit right now. And I took this earlier this morning after I got everything set up. But this is a 70 centimeter and 2 meter Yagi directional antenna pointed directly at the Shingle Springs repeater, and as best as I could tell. And it's using a Baofeng UV5R to transmit SSTV.
All right, that's impressive. Joseph, were you checking in this at 7 on the Elk Grove Radio Club? Were you using this on 1 watt?
Yeah, and in fact, I'm still using it on 1 watt.
Oh, that's impressive. That might explain why there were some hiccups in the transmission. Bob or Anders or Neil, what do you think? Could that have caused that?
L7H, yeah, 100%. At 1 watt, that is quite impressive.
Can you, Joseph, can you tell us a little bit about the computer? I don't know if it's just the convex lens of the camera or if that screen on the computer is bigger than normal, like Anders was saying.
The computer is just an old Windows laptop I had laying around. It's nothing special. What you're probably seeing is just the compression of the picture to get it to fit in the SSTV image.
Good point. Right. Thank you. Any other comments for Joseph, and then we'll circle back to Neil.
NR6H.
Go ahead, NR6H.
Just curious if it's right that the Yagi is pointing up, or is it just the perspective of the image?
It's pointed up just slightly to give it just a little bit of elevation. I was kind of guessing at an angle that, because I'm at sea level and the Shingle Springs repeater would be maybe about 10, 15 degrees above me.
Okay, roger that. So yeah, I probably that doesn't matter too much whether you point it up or down there. I think you could probably put it horizontal, but very cool and neat that you can get just with 1 watt from the little Baofeng there. That is really cool. Cool setup. Thanks so much for sharing. NR6H, back to net.
NR6H, thank you. Any other comments before we go to Neil? Well, Joseph, thanks for sharing that. That's a really interesting project, and I bet some of us would like to learn more about that. Neil, KL7HQR, go ahead and transmit if you're ready.
Okay, we'll give it a try. This is PD120.
came through, Neil, and it's really great copy. It looks like side-by-side photos of the same building on stilts near a river or a body of water, but look forward to hearing more about that. Anders, NR6H, go ahead.
Excellent reception for sure. Side-by-side pictures, kind of like the old Find Five Differences kind of game that we have all played on our spare time. Some kind of printing on the red roof there. Can't really see what that is, but I think my guess here is that the main feature here is the difference in water level. Clearly much higher water level on the left than it is on the right. So I wonder if that's tide or if it is some other reason for that significant difference from the left to the right. So that is my rough guess. I can't say where this would be from. The style of building kind of gives me a little vibe of Eastern Europe or Russia or something like that, but I don't know that Neil has been in those neighborhoods recently, so maybe this is something else. NR6H, back to net.
Good observation, Anders, on the tide. Bob, N6PGQ.
Yeah, it looks like it may be in a lagoon or on a river. The poles on the left side are less submerged, or I guess less submerged than the one on the right. The right has more poles showing. Good quality, varying little pixel pops. The left picture is a little bit more in focus than the right picture. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. I'm wondering if the water level isn't that much different, and what we're seeing in the picture on the right is a reflection of the poles on the water. I guess we will find out soon. Joseph, KK6, LOL.
Yeah, I'm agreeing on the picture water level. I don't know, the architecture is giving me more Vietnam vibes than anything else, but that's just my brain going places. But yeah, I've got a great time.
Thanks, Joseph. We picked that up. You're very quiet, though. Your 1 watt is getting a little staticky, but we could still copy. Neil, KL7HQR.
KL7HQR. Yes, everybody is right as far as water. There's the main thing. I just came back from a trip to a cruise to Alaska, and this was taken in Juneau, Alaska, at our docking. And those two pictures were taken about 6 hours apart. And a high tide, low tide. When I was in Alaska with the Air Force up in Anchorage, the tide there was 26 feet, which is quite enormous. I don't know how much it is in Juneau, but I decided to take the pictures. And what you can see on the right-hand side, that's not on the left-hand side, is a little gangway for boarding the ship. And of course, as the tide went down, so did the ship. I went up on a couple floors to try to take the same angle. And but that's basically what it is. It's Juneau, Alaska, on the dock. And it is just a difference of tide. It is quite impressive.
That's really neat. Alaska. Okay, that's very cool. Thanks, Neil. Any other comments or questions for Neil before I transmit a photo?
A comment.
Go ahead.
It looks like I'm having problems on the receiving end and not on the transmit end. I may have been. The only thing I can notice is that I plugged I use a different USB port for some of the connections, and that may have been the problem. So I went back to the normal one, so I'll be testing my receiving now. So thanks. Back to that.
Okay. Well, thanks, Neil. Yeah, let us know if it's working or not working, and we'll see if we can help you do some experimentation. Any other comments before I transmit? right, this will be PD120, and this is James, KN6, QNJ. Okay, Bob, N6PGQ, thoughts or comments?
Okay, well, the picture quality was very good. I can't tell exactly what the box underneath the answers that say simple but wrong to the left and complex but right to the right. I can't tell whether it's a bunch of books in there that somebody else on the headed towards the right curvy lane has something in his hands, might be a book, and then all the other people, the lemmings, are jumping off either into water or off the cliff, looks like a cliff, and headed off to disaster. Anyway, it's a cute comic. And they're obviously in the desert, it looks like, because down at the bottom we have a skull sitting there. So we'll have to figure it out and see what it is in 6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Neil, KL7HQR.
KL7HQR. Well, my problems are definitely solved. They're related to you, too. It is one of the best copies that I've ever had. I literally can count 4, and I mean 4 little specks on the picture. It's perfectly clear. And I agree with Bob. I don't know what the deal is. I would wonder what kind of good legend we could have for this picture. Maybe one of those contests to come up with a good legend. But if it appears if you want a complex but right answer, you have to take a book and or a device, and you have to work with it. And so there's some work involved, and there are a few people that have taken that up, and they're moving to the right. Everybody else said, oh, the heck with it, let's go in. And so very, very good picture. I wonder where that came in. I read at the bottom there today's comic from the non-sequitur, and curious about the source of this and what the background of this is. Excellent.
Thanks, Neil. Anders, NR6H.
Thank you, James. This definitely gave me a chuckle. I think it's a awesome illustration of how many people behave, for sure. got me thinking about something that actually happened today. I had to look up conversion of volumes and converting. They had to get the exact number of liters in a gallon. So Googled it real quick and realized that not only there are obviously many types of gallons, U.S. gallons and imperial gallons and dry gallons and other types. I counted 13 in my quick research, and most of them are not used anymore, but some are. And just the fact that there are multiple gallons still in use should invalidate that whole concept, I think. But that's just me. But what I also learned was that one of the gallons, I believe it's the U.S. gallon, is based on something called the wine gallon. I may be wrong here, but I'm trying to remember what I read real quick. And the wine gallon was based on a cylinder, the content of a cylinder that is, I think, 6 inches tall and 7 inches wide, or if it was the other way around, 7 inches in diameter and 6 inches tall. And that was the definition of how much was in a gallon. But because circles are difficult, and pi is the tricky number, they just decided that, let's not go with the exact value of pi. Let's just think that pi is 22/7 and approximate it that way. So not only was the definition of the volume wrong because they used the wrong number of pi, it was. I just find it fascinating when with this whole unit experience here. We should all go to SI. That is my little contribution to tonight's net. Thank you so much, James. This was a funny picture. N6NA back to you.
Thank you, Anders. I'm reading a book by Andy Weir, the author of The Martian. Matt Damon starred in the movie. He has a newish book out called Project Hail Mary, and you remind me of the Martian. Of the astronaut in this book, Project Hail Mary, because basically the whole book is this lone astronaut running calculations on volume, and I definitely recommend it to you. Joseph, KK6, LOL.
Well, first off, I would like to second the recommendation of all of Andy Weir's novels, including The Martian and Project Hail Mary. They are amazing. I have a copy of the picture. The picture looks great. This appears to be the surveillance photo from a previous place that I have worked, where all of my coworkers are jumping off of a cliff while I'm trying to direct them towards the correct answers, and it is not working.
That is a great explanation. Do you want to go into any more detail? You probably don't.
Not that's being live streamed on YouTube.
Fair enough. Well, one of the reasons I shared this is because, it could be used in many contexts, and Joseph just came up with one that I hadn't thought about. But I was thinking as ham radio operators, we would probably change the sign on the right. It would say complex but right, but it could be wrong, but we're going to figure it out. And so that's what I kind of thought about, and the reason I shared it tonight. So are there any other comments before we close the night? Oh, and also, I forget where I found this. I think somebody the non-sequitur, they probably have a website. They put up things all the time. It's right out of a business magazine, possibly. I'm trying to remember. But any other last comments before we close the net?
You did ask a question. If people wanted to ask questions about the setup I'm using or how to get into this very cheaply, you can find me on QRZ, Kilo 6, Lima Oscar Lima.
Oh, great. Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Are you still on 1 watt? Because you're coming in clear now.
Yeah, I'm still on 1 watt.
That's pretty impressive. Okay, any other last comments before we close the net?
No comments, but thank you for the help in getting the glitches here solved. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the net. And as far as Carol, if she's listening and on YouTube, our best for your recovery and surgery, and looking forward to seeing you in full function again. So I wish you our best and good night.
Thanks, Neil. And thanks to all of you who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net, both on radio and through YouTube. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:47 p.m. This is James, Kilo November 6, Quebec November Juliet, wishing all of you a good evening.
Thanks so much, James. Good to hear you again. It was a while ago, and everybody else on the net, thanks for a fun evening. Also, best wishes to Carol. Hope to see you soon back in function. NR6H signing off.
Thanks, Anders. Good to spend an hour with you. I miss getting together. Hope to see you soon.